is not a drill, this is not a drill. All warriors mount up. Proceed to nav point Gamma. Rendezvous with Mobile HQ for tactical and situational analysis. Welcome to the MHQ Podcast.
Hey everybody, this is Jose. I have Randall with me and Mike and Jonathan Colton. This is Jonathan's second time around with us on this podcast. And today our topic is all things GenCon. Since GenCon just finished and we had both Jonathan and Mike there. Also, Ronald Baker was there as well, but he couldn't join us today. But that's all right. And everybody, welcome to the podcast. I hope you all are doing well. And Randall, why don't you take over with the first few questions?
All right, yeah. So obviously GenCon was a big deal, right? So we want to kind of start with Mike because he's got a limited schedule today. But so Mike, what took you to GenCon? Because I know it was a little bit different than what we normally talk about.
So I got the opportunity through some professional contacts that I have to luckily work for Atomic Mass Games as a demo agent, representing Star Wars Legion, Marvel Crisis Protocol, and Star Wars Shatterpoint. So I was able to spend the weekend kind of giving quick demos of that as a representative of the company. But I did get to peel myself away for a short period of time during that trip to also check out all the really cool stuff that obviously goes on at the type of event that happens when you get 70,000 dedicated gamers in the same convention center over the course of a weekend.
Yeah, that's one that I'm going to be going to hopefully next year. We'll see if my schedule lines up for GenCon next year. What was it like working the con as compared to being a visitor and guest?
It was a lot of cool stuff going on. Obviously, GenCon, most of the folks that we're interacting with on a day-to-day basis are kind of on the gamer side. They're on the consumer side of things, but GenCon is obviously a massive event within the business of tabletop gaming as well. So being able to really kind of see the sheer volume and the scale of effort that goes into putting on a trade show like that when, I was just there as a representative doing some demos, but you've got, the suits that are there signing deals and making contracts, getting new things into retail. And, I was talking to one of the game designers for Star Wars Legion who did an interview for a podcast right next to the table. So it really was kind of interesting being in the beating heart of not just the tabletop gaming community, but the tabletop gaming industry, to see all the different types of individuals that, can come together to make everything that, you just go to your local game shop. You don't think of the effort that it takes for the supply chain to be put together for those modelers to get those things out to the stores. And, it's obviously an honor to be able to know the folks that they think so highly enough that they basically paid for me to come out for the weekend and play games with people because, that's something that they need. They need the marketing folks out there. They need us kind of evangelizing the games, making sure people understand not only is this a medium through which you can express yourself intellectually, you can play these games competitively and you can show how good you are at them, but also just kind of leaning back a little bit, remembering that we're all playing games and that fun stuff happens when you're playing games. And
right.
Being able to lean into both sides of that with, again, just I think 70,000 people over the course of the weekend. We were doing demos in half-hour slots, so I did somewhere in the area of like 16 demos a game or 16 demos a day, so like 40 odd short games of the games that I was demoing in the course of 3 or 4 days. It was definitely an experience for sure.
Oh, good deal. Yeah, so getting a working vacation never hurts, right?
Yeah, I'm luckily one of the types of people that, thanks to that opportunity, I basically came out of the weekend just barely in the black. So nice. That's always great when you're able to pull something like that off. But at the same time, like like I said, I managed to pull some of my time away from the professional aspects of the con and go check out, the retail space they had set up for Catalyst Game Labs and lots of the other publishers, Games Workshops, Modifius, Steamwork Games, but Catalyst Game Labs, of course, in general. Checking out, they had retail, the first live retail for a lot of the stuff, for some of the stuff from the Mercenaries kits. They had all the premiums, and again, it's wild being on the professional half of it and then going over and seeing all the effort we put into our booths, and then getting to check out to see the teams that worked over at Catalyst Game Labs put in tremendous effort, making their booths full of cool stuff and also just look amazing.
Yeah. So it was the major draw for both of you guys, just overall for Gen Con. What was it that caught your eye the most and really got your attention? Jonathan, why don't you pipe in for this one?
So, this is my first time going to Gen Con. Been to a couple of conventions. I'm trying to go more often, but I was just I had a couple of friends from around the country I play online games with who were going, so meeting all of them, and I mean, honestly, I enjoy the more competitive side of BattleTech, so I was definitely going for that mainly. But I also checked out demos for a whole bunch of games, the new Starfinder playtest. I was hoping to check out the Cosmere stuff, the Stormlight Archives RPG, but unfortunately those tickets all sold out. But
I haven't heard of that one.
Yeah,
what about you, Mike? What was your main draw?
Yeah, the two big draws that I had for the limited amount of free time I had was definitely the fact that there was a game that was widely publicized there called Rock Era. It's basically kind of like a hair glam rock band RPG. Looked kind of nifty. But there was, so I went and I checked that out, as well as the had a display case that was showing off the new Dungeons and Dragons 50th edition Players Handbook, which limited quantities were available of at the show. But for me personally, in the time that I had allotted to me outside of that, Gen Con is obviously the birthplace of the grinder, which is my favorite format of BattleTech. It's literally you're playing a Mech Warrior free-for-all, only on a tabletop, and every single time you die, you get bigger and angrier. That's like the greatest thing in the world to me. And that's obviously my favorite format. I run grinders for Critical Hit at MetroCon, and I'll probably be trying to run one next year at Hurricon for HGMS in the local area. But being able to go check out the grinder and the place where it was born at any given time for the sessions that they had, I think they had like 6 tables running with about 5 to 8 people per table. That was a lot of cool. That was a lot of fun. Right. And then obviously seeing some of the cool stuff that people had brought that modeled with them, a lot of the cosplay. If you've ever heard of a guy on TikTok and social media, his name is Crafty Rick. He's a big content creator for the Fallout tabletop game. He was there with I believe it was 1/100th scale Pridwin, which is their flying fortress. That thing was really cool. But yeah, just getting to see and meet all the different nerds from across the country was the big draw for me. And then checking out the birthplace of the grinder, getting some grinding done.
Yeah, I'm betting a lot of the paint jobs and everything were just phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
As long as you weren't looking at my stuff.
Why is that?
I was painting my stuff at 11:30 the night before I had a 8 a.m. flight.
Oh, geez. Do you have any smudge marks?
That's enough time to dry.
You only need 10 minutes between coats, right?
Yeah. But no, some of the paint jobs were absolutely amazing.
What was one of your favorites? Anything that stuck out that you could describe?
So I loved Ronald. He didn't get to join us, but he ended up winning the painting competition for the group.
Oh, nice.
So his was amazing. And there was another player who had a really nice Marion Force, and he like came dressed in like a toga for the tournament and everything. Full on Marion.
I saw those pictures, yeah.
Him and the dudes that came in the Neuro helmets.
Yes.
Yeah, I think
there
I
were two
saw
guys
those.
in full-size Neuro helmets. Those were pretty fun.
Did they make those out of foam?
I didn't get a chance to get too up close to them to see them in person. I couldn't tell. I hope they were foam.
Yeah, could you imagine like fiberglass or something nice and heavy that they've got to carry the whole event?
Supported by just their neck.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
I mean, I do that
know
with
in
my
terms
armored
of,
fighting, but eesh.
yeah. I know in terms of it wasn't on the play tables, but one of the really cool things they had set up in the Catalyst Game Labs retail booth area was it was meant to represent a specific battle because it was the Davian Guard and it was Cretans, but it was them fighting over a city center, and it was a whole bunch of camo spec online level paint jobs.
I saw the
15-20 minutes
pictures.
each side.
That was the battle, the Ill Clan battle that would happen after the Ill Clan, where Davians was taking back New Avalon.
That
was the New Avalon Institute or whatever. I can't remember everything. I read up on what they were doing there, and those were some gorgeous mechs.
Yeah, with a lot of the fun, like the missiles streaking off and a handful of impact sites and stuff like that. It was definitely a diorama board. It wasn't dudes playing, but it was a very well done diorama board.
Nice.
And the drop ships.
Yes, that was something that I came very close to purchasing when I was over at that booth. Is I wanted to get that Union class dropship.
Is it mech scale or map scale?
It's the one that they just came out with from the Kickstarter, so I want to say that's the one that's technically map scale.
Okay.
Definitely map scale.
Yeah, 3-4 inches wide, something like that.
Yeah. But obviously, that's just fun because it's a dropship. They had a really cool clan Jade Falcon painted. If you've seen the Mad Cat premium configuration that they sell, the posable one from the store, they had one of those painted there that was very cool. But obviously, just the original clan Jade Falcon scheme it's just bright and attention grabbing, so when people do it well, it always looks cool.
Yeah, stab you in the eye green. Yeah.
Yeah. It's exactly what it is, yeah.
So, Mike, did you get any tournament stuff in, or was it, I mean, you said you did the grinders, but any actual tournaments?
No, I got to spend some time helping a little bit with a couple of the AMG tournaments, but mostly administratively, just kind of helping hand out prizes and stuff like that. But yeah, the bulk of the playing that I got done while I was there was just the grinder. No tournament opportunities for me, unfortunately.
Gotcha. So, Jonathan, tell us about your experience. What was it like for you? You said it was your first time in?
Yeah, first time at GenCon. I was honestly overwhelmed at first. There was a lot of people, everything you could want to do. It was so many options, didn't know where to start.
Yeah,
I think they started with 42 players.
For the 350 tournament?
For the tournament, yeah.
Yeah. So I skipped the doubles tournament. I didn't want to get too BattleTech'd out. Checked out a couple of the demos, Leviathans. Like I said, the new Starfinder playtest. And mainly just spent Thursday wandering the hall, the dealer booths, tried to get that out of the way. Friday was the tournament, and like Jose said, there was about 42 people. A lot of really fun games. I think I ended up on stream twice the first day.
Yes.
Yeah, I missed the streams.
First time did not go well.
No, really?
Or no, sorry, the first time went really well. The second time, I kept missing every single shot I fired on this one VTOL. And then one Stinger gets like 4 11s to kill 2 mechs in one shot.
Yeah. Well,
Nice.
you didn't have Bradley's luck.
Yeah.
At LVO a couple years ago, where he couldn't roll a 5 to save his life.
Oh, if I ever needed a 6, I could not get it. 2s, 3s, 11s, 12s, all of it's fine. But if the number I was looking for was an actual 6, that thing was living. I was not killing.
So what was your force like?
So it was Dark Age Rossalhog Dominion. Couple of Aponas for speed and heat source. Couple of Surat battle armors to ride them. Beyond that, it was Marauder and an Ossul for some medium long range damage. And the Contio, which is such a fun mech.
That's a whole bunch of units I don't know.
Well, Contio was so much fun because it's 18-inch movement, stealth armor, and TSM. So
An extremely ill-clan air combination of things that you just said.
So you overheat, run up 20, and punch somebody for 5 damage.
Whew.
And I mainly brought that because I was a bit worried that people were going to be bringing reflective armor, and I wanted the double damage from physical attacks.
Okay. Did that work out for you?
I did not see one person with physical reflective armor.
Backfire.
Now, I mean, the Contio is still a 4 short, 4 medium with stealth armor and like 8 health and effective TMM 4. So he like did his job and captured a flag.
Right. You had so you did the standard 350 format with was it 250 or 200 that you had to bring to the table?
Yeah, so 350 and 250 per scenario.
Okay.
And you ended up playing all 8 of the
Scenarios.
scenarios, yeah.
Yeah,
All
so
2 days.
so first day was 5 rounds, and then top 8 came back on Saturday for 3 more rounds to finish it out. I ended up winning. I made, I think, 5th place on day 1, and then 1 overall on day 2. So
How does that feel?
And
that was a lot of.
Yeah, he was on the live stream for WolfNet's YouTube channel 3 times, guys. 3 times.
Okay, so my goal was I want to make it to day 2 just because I like winning. If I'm gonna go pay a lot of money to go up to this place to enter a tournament, I want to at least do a good showing.
Yeah.
And after that, so day 1 I was a bit stressed out, constantly going over score and everything. And then day 2, it's like, okay, I made where I wanted to, so I can just relax, play the game, and then it still just ended up winning.
Yeah.
I'm constantly like, just don't be last. That's all I care.
Yeah. Okay, well, he made it to day 2, so he wasn't going to be dead last, you know?
Right. Yeah, did awesome. So what was it? So your second day, I don't want to go through like all 8 scenarios, but like, what was your? I guess what was your hardest scenario that you started with? Like, who gave you the most pain?
So that would definitely be the last game, which I was on stream for that one. It was a stand-up fight, just kill your opponent stuff. And all 3 of my games on day 2, my opponents had harassers. 2 of them using the TMM5 harass. And I was done with harassers by the end of the day. So just a little funny story, actually. The guy I played first round, Mike Doyle, I've been using Tabletop Simulator. We've been testing our lists against each other and helped each other refine it. So it was actually a rematch of the last test scenario we had done where we drew. So it was a rematch of a draw.
Nice.
We had the exact same 250 and ended up coming ahead there.
So, I have a question for you, Jonathan.
Yeah.
How long the 250 format compared to 200? Pros, cons?
So, one of the things I always noticed myself doing with 250 or the 200 before they upped it, I would never skill things up and I would never take long range because they just added points that you couldn't really fit everything you wanted to in the list.
Right.
The extra 50 points gives you so many more options to bump. Like, I had a skill 3 Marauder 2C. So that made it so I could actually hit things with higher TMM.
Yeah, that's an expensive one.
Yeah. And I absolutely like the bump up to 250 because it's, you can't, in 200, you take something with higher skill and it might become so expensive that if it gets hit with heat, you've wasted a huge portion of your list. The extra 50 points gives you like an entire extra main battle line.
Going back to your hardest match, what was it that made it the hard match? What strategies were you trying to employ versus your opponent? Yeah.
So it was my last game. It's actually, this one was on stream. Like I said, stand-up fight, and I had already played him once, and I think I just barely eked out the win the first time. But the he was playing kind of a list like I was just talking about, the 200. He didn't really have any long range, but he had like 4 units that had 7 short, 7 medium. So when he did get in range, he would just pound me to nothing. And that was fine. It was slow enough that when there was actual scenarios, I was able to maneuver around it. But when it's a stand-up fight where I have to shoot him, he has to shoot me, he has more dice coming at me.
Right.
And
so how'd you handle that?
So the idea, I was trying to use some of my faster units to pick off like 1 or 2 units at a time. And I held back to my edge and tried to hit him with long range to try to weaken him before we got in the actual fight. Because he did not have any long range of his own. Now, problem was my Marauder, who I was using for the long range, took an engine hit and then a couple heat.
Oof.
Luckily, it survived, but that definitely made things more difficult than I was hoping for.
Yeah. So was terrain a problem for you, or was it mostly just the range and the firepower that he was dishing out?
So the terrain was actually pretty good for that one. I would have preferred a few more things that could block line of sight so I could control the engagement a bit better, but no, I think I took a pretty good advantage of the terrain. Tried to use sit my Ostel with overheating in the water constantly, and that was a whole thing I don't want to go into. We had a minor argument at one point
over water and how its effects or something.
Yeah, so water is an inch down,
right?
And I was trying to get line of sight while being in the water. I'm like, we both agreed, okay, we can't see over this hill if I'm an inch down in the water. Okay, that's fine. Next turn, I move my unit there anyways, and he moves 2 of his units and tries to shoot. And I'm like, no, we agreed last turn, there's no line of sight there.
Gotcha.
And that wasted, he lost 14 shots because he had no other valid targets.
Yeah, you got to remember those things, and his gentleman's agreement always rules on that.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't say, no, we can't do it when it's my turn, but then when it's his turn to do it, we have to say yeah.
Right.
But other than that, I mean, it was still a good game. I don't know how much that would have actually affected it. He still needed, I think, 11s to hit it.
Oof.
Gotcha. Hey, that lucky 12 always comes out.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, when you need to hit 11 to 12s, if you do hit, you're a higher chance of getting a critical.
Exactly. Hey, 1 point, and this is correct. Thanks. Oh, great.
So I have a question for you, Jonathan, and then Mike, I got some questions for you. Going back next year?
Probably.
Okay.
Got some family travel.
Yeah. So Mike, have you ever played in the 350 format?
Yeah, I've done a couple of tournaments under 350 tournament format.
Okay, good enough. Yeah, because I was thinking we might want to be able to get together and run our own little 350 tournament at Critical Hit sometime in the near future.
Fingers crossed, yeah.
I'm what?
Yep.
Fingers crossed.
Oh, sorry about that.
No.
Okay. So I was saying, if you've done so, maybe we should all get together one of these days coming up on a Saturday or Sunday at Critical Hits for a simple 350 tournament. You know?
Yeah,
One
let
of
me know
those
when,
days.
and I'll come down and visit.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I mean, I have no problem heading over to Critical Hits for those games. It's Armada's a little difficult. They're in the middle of their Warhammer season this week, and I think next week as well. So they're kind of like out of range on a Saturday for anything at the moment. But I've always got Critical Hits to get to.
Right.
So I'm happy as can be.
So what's the next things you're going to be doing? Do we have any events coming up?
So I'm Crucible in Orlando is on the September 6th.
6 through the 8th.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm heading up there to basically I'm just taking my GenCon force and going to do the Alpha Strike tournament there.
Okay.
That's always a great group of folks, too. I go to Crucible every year. I don't compete, but it's a really fun event, especially when they paired up with QuestCon last year.
And
Actually,
I think there's another one. There's another one at the Ocala store.
Bearded Brown
Close to
Coat.
that time as well. Yeah, bearded brown, whatever. I cannot remember the name.
Bearded Brown Coat. Yeah, you remember the show Firefly?
Yeah.
That's what they called all of the people that were on the resistance half of the Civil War were the brown coats, the bearded brown coat.
Okay. All right. I'll be
Tiny.
hopefully.
Yeah.
I'll
And
be
then-
able to remember it.
November we have Tampa NerdCon. I think Bradley's trying to run a 350 event there.
Yeah, he's tried for the last 2 years.
Oh, we managed to get it
I
to
showed up
technically
with
fire
full
last
army.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
there
showed
were
up the
four of
first year they tried that. Brought 2 350 forces, and I sat there. Bradley, why aren't you here? They got tables for us.
Well-
Did something come up that year?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
So,
this year he got struck by lightning and hit by a tree. So I mean, he just doesn't
He's
luck
nothing if
out.
not consistently unlucky.
Right. Last minute, something's gonna pick up, and
Yeah.
it's not his fault. That's the great irony of it.
Yeah, but this year we're gonna advertise him more, see if we can get more people to come.
Definitely hoping September 1st, speaking of critical hits, September 1st, Emilio's going to be running a Alpha Strike Learn to Play workshop. So we're definitely hoping to get some
Yeah, I
folks
saw
out for
that.
that as well.
Yeah. Well, I'm on vacation that weekend, wrap around. So I'll definitely show up for that.
Nice.
I don't need to be taught Alpha Strike, but I can help them. As far as if enough people show up, I can help them learn Alpha Strike. I mean, that's
one of
what basically I'm doing at Armada. Is I'm teaching people how to play Alpha Strike. I've got people that have only played Classic who all of a sudden, Jose, you guys have way too much fun playing with that many units out there. Can you show me? And we set up a date. We get together, and it's been interesting. I keep it simple.
Yeah, you got to.
Yeah, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they understand that I'm keeping it simple, because all of a sudden, well, according to this card here, and they go, oh, Jesus, you really want to use that? Fine, no problem. By the way, this mech here is an artillery mech. Therefore, your 4 little mechs together are about to get splattered. I did that to one guy. I haven't done that again since.
Yeah, hopefully we can get some more consistent events going on.
Yeah.
Try to set up like a monthly day.
And then I know
Well, to that end,
I'm going to start doing some classic BattleTech programming over at Critical Hit over the next coming months, hopefully as well.
Well, you know what I wanted to do over there, and we didn't have as many people as I thought to even say that they were going to go, is I wanted to take I know you guys have seen my picture of my Snyder Stadium.
Oh, yeah,
I posted. It's a classic. It's a simple sheet from the Essentials box, I think it's what's called, and I put some 3D printed walls up, and I want to get a group together for that. I'd bring as one medium mech in classic format, classic sheet, and inner sphere, pre-clan invasion, and let's go for it. I have 6 to 8 guys. I played it at Armada with 8 guys, and it was brutal.
Yeah, that's the Suarez rules, right? The Suarez gladiator battle or something.
Yeah. What I did is I rolled a 20-sided die. The walls stayed up if it was 10 or less. If it was 11 and above, it went down. So the walls would disappear.
Very cool.
And there's 6 total walls. So it was really, really interesting when people moved behind to get cover and that wall disappeared. And all of a sudden they had 4 people pointing in that direction. So it became very, very, you had to, it was interesting. You had to apply strategy, and at the same time, you had to hope for luck.
Yeah.
Made it a fun time.
so one of the projects I've been working on is trying to come up with a campaign type of style that's lighter than the version that I've already written. Working with a bunch of guys with the all throughout Florida, trying to come up with this format. We don't have anything solid yet, but the goal is going to be to set up kind of a monthly get-together where everybody gets to track their progress through this system, and we'll have kind of a leaderboard from each group, and then we can kind of intermix and match, but that way we're all working with the same consistent scoring mechanism. And when we go up and say, hey, I'm from St. Pete area and I want to go up to Ocala, we're all on the same page, at least as far as what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
So if we can get that going and get that document put together, got to keep it simple, got to keep it fairly well organized, and the scoring somehow, that's going to be the biggest challenge, is how to have some sort of central scoring system that like a local league admin can keep track of.
So, shameless plug time. I created like an Alpha Strike website, terminal.tools. Alpha Strike list builder I built, kind of as a hobby to get back into program.
Yeah, we talked about it, and I was like, ooh, that sounds really good, but you never gave me the link. So
yeah, the link was complicated, and then I realized the name was hard to give out to people, so I got a new domain for it.
Gotcha.
But when we're done, I'll talk to you. Maybe I can set up something that, like, for your league.
Yeah, any
campaign support tools.
When you think about it, the WolfNet 350 format actually leans itself great for that kind of tournament.
And we're kind of borrowing off of that.
Yeah.
So initial thought process is use the 350 tournament format for building your initial force. And then your scenarios would be kind of chaos campaign style. So like encounter 1 would be a say your scouting regiment or your scouting lance engagement. So you fight that through. And then whatever you put in for the scouts, you can't use for the next one unless you had unless you wanted to. So say you got something that got away unscathed, you could add it to your next one, because now it's your mediums and heavies that are coming in. So it'd be like wave 2, and then wave 3 would be the end of it. So you basically go through 3 different phases of battles with your opponent. That's rough sketch idea, and that's one campaign arc, and then you do your scoring off of that. So win or lose, it's 3. And one of the problems we had with the Chaos campaign initially was it was a snowball effect. Whoever won the first engagement was most likely going to win all of them, because you got behind the 8 ball with the war chest and supply pool coming into the winner. In this idea, you eliminate that, and you really only have the resources that you start out with. So everybody's kind of on a solid base initially and throughout, but depending on what you commit to your force, like your initial fight, you could say up front, you have to say 4 units as your first engagement, but are those like 50 PV each, or are they your 30 PV each? But that's out of your full 350 force that you can bring to the battlefield type thing.
Would that actually work with the build for the 350 format?
Yeah, I mean, you're just, all you're doing is you're changing your PV that you can bring to the field, or a number of units that you're bringing to the field. But what you're engaging with for the entire story arc, or the campaign arc, would still be limited to a certain total value.
Okay.
So like round 1, since everybody starts with 350, you'll start with 350 as your total that you can bring to the force. And then in the next one, it might be, 400. So, say you lost all of your battles in your 350 first fight, you might be behind the 8 ball, but you still have 400 PV to work with. You just don't have extra units that you can pull from, right? But what comes to the table would be still roughly equal to what your opponent does.
So
that way, it's not too unbalanced from like what happens with the Chaos campaign.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds like my Northwind Highlanders are going to make an appearance.
Yeah, and again, the idea is get to the end of the 3 fights, and that's your monthly. You're hoping to commit to 3 fights in a month. It's kind of the idea. And at the end of the month, you score up, wins, losses, and we got to figure out the scoring system. I don't know how that's going to be. And that's going to give you PV that you can purchase new units. You can also salvage off the field. So you wipe your opponent. They've got a really cool unit that's not available in your faction. You can get it. But if it's not in your faction list and you bring it out to the next battle and you lose it, well, it's gone from your inventory then.
Okay.
So, but if it's in your faction list, you can replace it because it's part of your faction list. There's going to be some unit maintenance. We're looking at the possibility of using some of the rules from my campaign guide, or like unit upgrades and field modifications. We're probably going to be tapping into the support deck stuff. So you can have artillery and airstrikes. Probably going to limit it only to ground units. So we're not, and because of that, we're probably going to be limiting the number of vehicles that people can bring to the battlefield, at least initially. Keep it focused on the mechs.
Okay. So they sound like they're going to be lances. The first would probably be a lance fight, it sounds like.
We haven't really gotten to that far of the details. Right now, we're still trying to get the framework figured out. I think, like I said, the scoring and record keeping is going to be the biggest challenge. Everything else, it's going to be like, okay, guys, let's create a scenario. Here's your scenario. You're raiding a depot. Before you get to the depot, this happens.
Okay, I know Mike has to go. He has to get to dinner. And but one final question to you, Mike, and you too, Jonathan. Jonathan's already answers. He is going back next year. How about you?
Yeah, even if I don't get invited back to work at the event, I'm definitely going to be making some time for Gen Con next year. That was enough of an experience that it's worth it both ways.
Okay. So it sounds like possibly all four of us could be there next year.
Yeah. One more question. Which one of you lost your shirt gambling? Either one?
I didn't lose my shirt gambling, but I almost lost my iPhone in a Uber.
Okay.
Don't do that. It's not fun. Very inconvenient.
Yeah, you can't even call the Uber to get it back.
No, luckily I was traveling with someone, and I could use their phone to go through a whole rigmarole with Uber. But yeah, don't leave your phone in an Uber. It's not fun.
Yeah.
But no gambling, but spent more than I meant to because, Bradley got struck by lightning and we couldn't split the hotel room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But glad he's okay.
Yeah.
Same here.
He's on the recovery path. He'll be back rolling dice at the table soon.
Yep. All right, guys. That was a good one. Hope you all enjoyed. We are the Mobile Headquarters Podcast, and this is our 13th podcast. Hope to see you all on the flip side. Take care.